Now.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Oceotihiju. This is Firebird Grey Wolf. We made it at last for our Mound Builders Society Ancient History in America. And I'm so happy that Fierce Truth Seeker could be here tonight. He's an expert on this history. Behind me, you can see the Omuchi Mound in Macon, Georgia. It is humongous. I've been there. It's humongous. And Native Americans come every year at September to celebrate and honor the mounds that was there. So we don't have much time because Fierce Truth Seeker has another appointment, but we're going to do a part one. So, Truth, whenever you're ready, you can start your lecture.
Okay. So, all right. Well, sure, everybody. Yeah. So, I, I, I I don't. I think it's a bit of an exaggeration on Firebird's part. I don't know about the expert. I don't know if I'm an expert, but
To me, you are.
yeah, I'm just your humble servant that does research, and I'm just sharing the little bit that I know with the family, and
I got to build you up.
yeah.
We've been going
Uh,
at this for like 30 plus years.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, well, we started off, we were the you and I, we were the American mound builders, you know, and so we know a little something, about the mounds, and we just wanted to share a little
Right,
bit.
exactly. So here we are again.
Yeah. After decades. Yeah. Now, you wanted, before I started, you wanted to share something, Firebird. I think you froze. Can you hear me, Firebird? Your screen is frozen. I don't know if you may have to go out and come back in. Let me look on my other computer and see what the viewers are seeing. I'm gonna look and see because right now I don't. You're not on. You're on, but you're frozen. We can't hear you or anything. Give me 1 second. Let's see. So all the viewers, hold on. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Firebird is frozen, so we just want to get her back in here. I'm gonna look on my other computer and see what might be going on. Oh, wait. Yeah, yeah, you're totally frozen, Firebird. Maybe you might have to go out and come back in. Oh, okay, this is you calling here. Shield, Firebird, you're
Hi,
frozen.
hi. Go on with your lecture. Go on. I'll try to get back in.
Okay. All right. So I'll do that.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. So Firebird is gonna go out and try to come back in. So in the meantime, I will start with the presentation. first, let's see how many viewers we got. We got three watching now. Okay, so I'm going to go into the PowerPoint. So we're talking about the American mound builders. Okay, so who were the mound builders? Oh wait, that's Firebird again calling. Let's see. She just hung up. Okay, so who were the mound builders? Okay, so basically in the Americas. So I'm going to go into the PowerPoint. So we're talking about the American mound builders. Okay, so who were the mound builders? Oh wait, that's Firebird again calling. Let's see, getting a lot of feedback. She just hung up. And let me just make sure that
Who were the Mound
everything.
builders?
Let me just make sure it's not coming from my end. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Hello, I'm here. Hi,
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, there was feedback in the background. I just wanted to see if it was coming from my end or from your end.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think it might have been coming from my end. It's
Okay.
okay. So yeah, I think it was from my end. So we straightened that
Okay.
out. Okay, good. So we were saying who? Oh, before I start, you wanted to open up with something before I started, right?
Yes, I just wanted to let them know that that was the Omochi Mounds in Macon, Georgia. They might want to look up the Mounds in Macon, Georgia. They're having honoring every September. The natives come there to honor the ancestors from this particular mounds, and not too many mound protectors have celebrations, but this group comes faithfully to Macon, Georgia. So that's OCMULGEE Indian Mounds in Macon, Georgia.
Okay, great, great. So yeah, so we're saying who are the mound builders? So the mound builders, basically, they were a mound and pyramid building civilization in the Americas that spanned from Alaska to Chile and extended to the adjoining islands. Okay, those adjoining islands are in the Caribbean. Um, they're also known as the Atlantis Islands. The mound builders were the top. Well, I'm sorry, were the temple keepers of the Americas and trace their migrations to the land that sunk in the Atlantic Ocean. Some people today call that land Atlantis. Okay, and this particular culture that built the pyramids predated most of the present day tribes who adopted and built on top of the culture and the structures of the
Basically,
ancient ones who came before them. These mound builders were also a part of a worldwide civilization. Firebird, we're getting some feedback in the
yes,
background.
I
Uh,
found it.
okay, okay, so those mound builders were also part of a worldwide civilization. Okay, and you're going to find that you find similar structures and earthworks that you found here in the Americas, you find the same phenomenon all over the world. Okay. And this lends credence to the fact that these particular mound builders were some advanced people. Okay. And these particular mound builders can be found in the land that they called Atlantis. And you also find that in certain oral traditions among certain tribes as well. Okay. And these mound builders, they were not primitives by any means. This was a highly advanced civilizations, and there are certain tribes that were descendants of the mound builders. Okay. And before I go to the next slide, so now mound forms. So there are different mound forms that you find, such as conical, turtle, bird, um, deer. Hold on one second. Hold on, give me one second. I gotta bring the font up a little bit. Okay. Bird, problematical, deer, beaver, buffalo, panther, biconical, oval, linear, and canine. Okay. And as I was saying before, this particular civilization, what they call the mound builders, remember these were a worldwide civilization. And you find the same structures and alignments that you found here in the Americas, you find all over the world. For instance, here is Silbury Hill, okay? And this is the largest man made mound in Europe, okay? And it's dated to 2660 BCE. And the height of this particular mound is 130 feet, okay? Now, if you look at that particular mound, if I didn't label it, you would think that was found right here in the Americas. Am I right or am I wrong, Firebird?
You're right.
Yeah. And so they would like you to believe that we were just people that were, had no contact with the rest of the world, but that's not the case. You know, um, we were all over with this particular science. Okay, and here is a mound in Ireland, and this particular mound is older. It was built before the pyramids in Giza in Egypt. Okay, and here these are three pyramids that were found discovered in Italy. Okay, and the reason why I'm showing these is to show you that I'm just laying the groundwork, showing you that this was a worldwide civilization. Okay, and these are laid out just like the layout in Egypt. Okay, it says here discovered May 2nd, 2003, from the air over northern Italy, 40 kilometers from Milan. were three pyramids with the same alignment as Giza and Orion.
Wow.
They are the first pyramids ever discovered in Italy, and the dimensions are quite impressive. The highest pyramid is 500 feet tall. They are stone buildings, as recent excavations have proved. However, they are now completely covered by ground and vegetation, so they look like mounds. The inclination degree of the three pyramids is 4243, and there is a perfect alignment with the Orion constellation. Nothing was found nearby which may help to date these structures, and in the area there was not any civilization able to build similar structures at the time. The people who lived there were mainly hunters and gatherers. Okay.
May I say something?
Mhm.
When the colonists came here, um, they could not believe that indigenous people were capable of building these types of structures.
Exactly.
They gave credit to Egyptians, Vikings, um, people from all other countries, but indigenous people.
Yeah, well, we know that a lot of the history that we've been given was distorted to make it seem like civilization started across the water and in what they call the old world. And when you do further investigation, people are going to find out that America is actually the old world. And that's another subject for another time.
Hmm.
And people are going to find out that I don't want to get too deep off into that, but a lot of things that were attributed to having its origin elsewhere actually originated here. And actually, a lot of the geographical um, places that we thought were over in the east and places like that were actually originally over here. But again, that's another subject for another time, and we can get into that in another discussion.
I know that Thomas Jefferson encountered as a child natives uh, going somewhere um, as if he was saying they were spiritually led.
Mm.
They knew where to go, and they were going to the mounds in the area where he lived, and he grew up very curious about the structure, and he found a mound, and he had it excavated, and he found bodies and pottery and everything in it. And his curiosity led him to seek out what he felt was ancient Egypt in
You're
the
breaking
East
up, Firebird.
Coast, as
Firebird, you're
far up
breaking up.
as
Firebird, you're breaking up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
can you hear me now?
No, your connection is very bad, Firebird. You froze. Hello, Firebird. Okay, viewers, hold tight. We're having another technical issue on Firebird's end. Let me text her and let her know that she's frozen again. Okay, hold on. Firebird, you're frozen again. Okay, so we'll wait for Firebird to come back in. In the meantime, I'll proceed with the presentation. So, with the mounds have multiple levels of meaning. Okay, and they have religious and ceremonial purposes. They are also. Oh, there you go, Firebird.
Okay, yes, I'm back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. I don't
Okay.
know what's going on with the weather, but if you lose me, keep going with your lecture.
Okay. Yeah. So you were saying something about Thomas Jefferson. He was curious.
Yeah, from a child, when he realized the natives knew exactly where they were going and led to the mound, uh, he grew up seeking more mystical things, and it led him to the languages. And he wasn't particularly interested in maintaining indigenous people there, but he was very interested in their culture and languages, and he wanted to maintain that. He ended up in the Puspatuck area, the Montauk area, collecting their language, and he named the Pharaoh family because he thought that was a lost tribe of Egypt. But my point is, you mentioned territorial markers, and that brought me to thinking about they knew exactly where to go,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's number three on your list, territorial markers.
Right. Yeah. And they didn't say some of these things for just out of the blue. They knew certain things because you have to remember that there are certain secrets that these people, such as Ben Franklin and others, who have a have a certain body of wisdom that they keep within certain circles, and they don't let too much of it outside of those circles. And when you talk about ancient Egypt and things like that, and the New World and Old World, and I'm not going to go too deep into that, but uh, the original ancient Egypt was over here, but that's another subject for another time. So he didn't name them Pharaoh for no reason, okay?
Right.
And that, like I say, that's another subject for another time. And I have the documented evidence of these things that we're talking about right now, which is some of the things that I talk about in my book. And I don't just talk about it, but I actually show you the landmarks to prove it. And
Well, can we make that a future show, or are you
well,
saving that for your book?
Well, you remember you and I were talking about doing the classes. So, for those who, really want to get into this more deeply, they can, they can join the classes, you know,
Yeah,
not
we're
that
going
we
to
won't
work
talk
over
about
that after the
it.
parade in October 15th, 2022 on 27th Street, Manhattan. That's our starting point. After the parade and everything is a little bit more settled, we'll be working on the classes if that's okay with you. I,
Sure.
I would say maybe starting November or December, or if you want to start off the new year, January, for the classes. And I know we said about giving out certificates of merit as well.
Hmm.
I know that the classes will be a certain amount of revenue for the other things that needs to be done with the history. So for those interested, classes will be starting the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
Yep, that is true. Yeah. So, there's many levels to this information. And right now, we're just giving you a little teaser. Okay. And so, yes. So, they are, there are multiple meanings to the mounds. Okay. There's different types of mounds, you know, and the different mounds have different significance. You have religious and ceremonial functions, territorial markers, and also burial mounds, which may contain a single or multiple burials. Um, Another thing is uh, ancient clan symbolisms and sacred meanings. Okay. Um, Another one of the functions is indications of the people's belief systems. Okay. And another is locations in areas of significant resources for subsistence. Okay. And to
Okay.
show you, you wanted to say something, Fiber? You were getting ready to say something?
Oh,
Hello?
I just wanted to let the audience know there were thousands of mounds, but I
You're
believe
breaking up, Firebird. Hello? Hello?
in in
Firebird, you're breaking up. You froze again, Firebird. Firebird, you froze. You're frozen, Firebird. Okay, so Firebird dropped off again. So in the meantime, I'm going to piggyback on what she was saying about how many mounds there, how many mounds were here when the colonizers came and before they came. Okay, and I'm gonna read from this article here to just give you an idea of just in one particular location. This is just one particular location, okay? And we're talking here um, in Wisconsin, okay? Show you how many mounds there were just in this particular area, okay? So it says here the Native American heritage of Adams County is thousands of years old. The traditions of the Ho Chunk people holds that they have lived here for as long as anyone has, and archaeological evidence supports the view that humans have inhabited the central part of the Wisconsin River Valley for over 10,000 years. Although rare specimens of the oldest style of stone tool making, Clovis points have been found by local collectors. Much more common are some points, arrowheads, dating back 5,000 years, and most common are those from the early woodland period, which began about 2,500 years ago. These finds include both stone tools and pottery and number in the thousands. They indicate that people of some culture and practical skills have lived in central Wisconsin for many thousands of years. Are you back, Firebird?
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you keep going because the problem is on my end. But as long as the audience is getting the information, I was saying that the colonials didn't believe that indigenous people had high intelligence to be able to create these great structures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was piggyback. Well, before you left off, you were saying that you were talking about the number of pyramids that
Yeah,
were.
there were thousands of mounds and only approximately 200 left here in America.
Yeah, and I was before you left, I was piggybacking on what you were saying, and I was reading from this article that coincides with some of what you were saying, and this is just in one particular area in Wisconsin to show you how many pyramids. I'm sorry, to show you how many mounds um, were here. So continuing on, said the most widespread evidence of prehistoric people living in Adams County takes the form of earthworks known as burial or effigy mounds. When first surveyed between 1913 and 1916, a total of, check this out, 666 mounds were counted in the county. Now, this is just in Adams County. Okay.
Wow.
666 mounds. Just in now, you're
Wow.
talking about in one county in Wisconsin to just show
Wow.
you the number of mounds that was here.
Wow.
Okay, and it says since American settlers had been plowing fields, building roads and dams, and otherwise working the land for 70 years by then, it is quite likely that many more mounds once existed. The mounds, which were constructed between 1500 and 1000 years ago, took many shapes and sizes. Many were conical mounds that resembled half scoops of ice cream, as big as a round hay bale. Others were linear, up to 5 feet high, 10 feet wide, and stretching as far as a football field. Many more were in the shape of animals, cat like panthers with long, curving tails, blocky bears, bison, or turtles. birds
Yeah,
with wings,
those are considered the effigy
effigy
mounds.
mounds, with wings outstretched for hundreds of feet. And this goes along with the slide that I showed just a little bit back here, where I gave a list of the different mound forms. Give me one second here. Wait, give me one second. Yeah, right here in this particular slide where I was talking about the different mound forms. Okay, can you hear me, Firebird?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
looking.
yeah. So
I
that
know the snake mound is very popular.
right, the serpent mound.
The serpent, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, and so So it says some mounds were used to bury tools and other implements. Others became graves for people, other than getting a lot of feedback in the background, Firebird.
Yeah, a little mound builder,
Little mound builder.
a little
Yeah.
mound builder.
So it says here, some mounds were used to bury tools and other implements. Others became graves for people, while many showed no signs of any purpose other than to stand on their own. When the American settlers arrived here, few of them were curious about the mounds. The Ho Chunk and Menominee people living in the county at the time knew little about them. With all the upheaval that had taken place.
Go ahead, go on with your lecture.
Okay, you might want to mute your mic, because the viewers are not going to be able to hear. You can mute your mic until you're ready to talk. Can you hear me, Firebird? Can you hear me, Firebird?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying you might want to mute your
I
mic.
hear some feedback.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I was saying, when the American settlers arrived here, few of them were curious about the mounds. The Ho Chunk and Menominee people living in the country at the time knew little about them. With
They didn't feed
all
him.
the upheaval that had
That's
taken
why when I
place
gave him food,
in
he was
the
starving. Y'all can't be on your phones for the rest of the night. Hello?
yeah, we're getting a. Can you mute your mic for a minute until you get ready to talk? 'Cause we're getting a lot of background talking. Okay,
Okay. I'm
so
trying.
okay. Yeah, you just hit on the mic icon and it should mute your mic. That way they don't hear all of the feedback. Okay, so the says when the American settlers arrived here, few of them were curious about the mounds. The Ho Chunk and Menominee people living in the county at the time knew little about them. With all the upheaval that had taken place in Indian culture since the first arrival of Europeans in Wisconsin in the late 1600s, it is not surprising that memories of memories of the mound builders were lost. Okay, so that's a supporting. document there. So now what we want to do is talk about the mound science. Okay, so again, the mound builders. Okay, so now we're talking about a worldwide civilization. Okay, and as we were talking earlier about the old world and new world controversy, I always like to bring up the book by Augustus Laplongeon, Queen Maya, Queen uh, um Queen Maya and the I mean not Queen Maya, Queen Mu and the Egyptian Sphinx. Okay, and he talks in that book about, see, Laplongeon was way ahead of his time, even though people try to give him a bad name. But now a lot of people are starting to find out that he wasn't as off as people thought he was. Okay, but he talked about how the people here, the Mayans, were all over the world and bringing this particular civilization and spreading it throughout the world. Okay, and if we're going to talk about the Mayans, we definitely have to talk about the Olmecs. Okay, and so you find a worldwide dispersion of this particular science. Okay, and when we talk about the mounds, before I get too deep into the mounds, I don't want to get too deep into the mounds without letting it be known that it's not just the mounds, but it's all of the other earthworks that you have to take into consideration. Okay, because everything is interconnected. Okay, and the land, the way that our ancestors viewed the land is that the land was a living entity. Okay, so we can't talk about the mounds without talking about the pyramids, the medicine wheels, the kivas, the ley lines on Turtle Island, you know, and all that stuff, you see. And these earthworks were strategically placed to balance the earths, okay? To balance the earth, to stabilize the earth, okay? And just as they talk about in Eastern philosophy, they talk about the chakras, the meridians, and things of that nature. The earth has chakras as well, okay? And these different earthworks are placed to stabilize and balance those chakras, okay? And these mounds and structures, they are aligned astronomically with the constellations. Okay, so we're talking about the science of geomancy, kind of like feng shui among the Chinese, you know. Um, and so now there was a there was an Indian trader named William Pigeon who gave an account of his association with an old Indian sage named Dikuda and his studies of some of the many old Indian mounds and monumental earthworks of the region. Okay, from his surveys of 449 Indian mounds, Pigeon came to the conclusion that many of them lay in alignments or lineal ranges, which were constructed for national or international landmarks and boundaries. Okay. And later on, we're going to get a little bit deeper, and I'm going to show you some images of how these monuments were laid out. And you're going to find out that these particular monuments, the way that they're laid out, is just looking at them on the level of the land, on the
Mm-mm.
ground, is not as impressive as looking at them from an aerial view. Okay. So when you look at these particular mounds from an aerial view, is when you're going to see how they're laid out. You know, a lot of them are, you can see them laid out in many different forms, like as we spoke about earlier, animals and things of that nature. You don't really appreciate them until you see them from the sky. Okay. Which means that, huh?
Exactly. I
What'd you
said
say?
exactly.
Yeah. So, which means that our ancestors had to have some sort of knowledge of of flight. You know, whether that be, you know, some say that we had airplanes. Okay, another subject for another time. Okay,
And I can't wait for that other time.
but I'm gonna show you where they found model airplanes. Okay, um, among certain indigenous people. Okay,
Wow.
and you know, so you know, you're not talking about, you know, just some primitives. You know, you're talking about people with high science. You know, we're talking about technology that was equivalent and even more advanced than what we have today, but they're not going to tell you these things. Okay. So now, with regard to these mounds, many of the mounds were destroyed for agricultural purposes. Okay. They were surveyed between the 1820s and the 1840s. And there were numerous mounds here, ranging in forms from an oriented cross of 25 feet long arms at Tarleton, Ohio, to octagonal ritual enclosures with sides of 800 feet at Portsmouth, Ohio. At Adams County, there is also the Great Serpent Mound. Okay. And when you see that serpent mound from the sky, it's very impressive from that aerial view. Okay.
Someone has a statement. Her name is Donna,
Mm-hmm.
and Donna says in eastern Kansas, a farmer plowing a field, I think it was in the 1940s, exposed a burial mound and made a museum in his barn, selling pottery and skeletal remains. So sad.
Mm, mm, mm. No respect.
No respect at all.
No respect. You know. Oh yeah, I have a lot along those lines of the disrespect. You know, um, it's just ridiculous. You know.
Let me ask you a question. I don't know if you know. In McKees Rock, PA, the mound is really destroyed. It's only like a chunk of land left, and a little tiny marker. I don't even know if it's etched in stone. I believe it is. Someone that I know recently went there. But
Hmm.
I also discovered that the skeletal remains that they found in McKees Rock, PA, were 7 feet tall or taller. Do you have any other records of what they found as far as height? But here in McKees Rock, they discovered they were one person said 7 to 12 feet tall, and that
Are you
was
talking about the mound itself, or are you talking about the skeletal remains?
the remains, the
Mm,
skeletal remains.
right.
Yes.
Yes. So in they found in a lot of these mounds, and it's not just there, but in other places too. They found skeletal remains of giants. Okay, and yes, we're talking about 7 feet tall. Some of them even taller. They found
Yeah, they said
remains
up
of
to
giants.
12 feet.
Yes, and they've also found remains of quote unquote so-called pygmies as well.
Pygmies as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I know of the Adena and the Hopewell people. So I read that there were several different societies that built the mounds, but they were all indigenous.
Yeah. What do you Can you elaborate?
Um, in other words, there were more societies than the Hopewell and Adena, or are they all under the same classification?
Okay, so yeah, you have the well, you're getting a little ahead of me. Those are in the slides coming up.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I didn't know if we had. I didn't know if we had time to cover that in tonight's show.
yeah. Yeah, I don't want to jump the gun. But yes, we're gonna get to the Hopewell and Adena Mounds. That's coming up. Let me see. Where are we here? Let's see. Let me just not lose the place of the slide. We're on slide number 11. Let me see. Um, yeah, see Adena Hopewell. Okay, that's coming up. I don't know if yeah, that's coming up too. We're gonna get in. We're gonna get into that. That's coming up soon.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you can stick around. We've been
Yeah,
trying to get the show going for so
yeah,
long. I kept advertising and advertising, and finally, and you had to leave, but I'm glad you're sticking it out.
yeah. I'm sticking it out as long as I can. I will probably have to leave out of here in no more than like 15 more minutes before my wife
Okay,
comes in
I
here, and
appreciate that.
she's not going to be too happy because I
No,
actually
I'm
had to.
very happy. That's longer than what we expected. Is the time period, you know?
Yeah, because I'm actually taking away from her. I had to kick her off of the internet so that we don't get feedback um, on the
Oh, tell
computer.
her I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Um,
Tell her we're working hard to get our own studios and everything, you know?
yeah, yeah. That's why I was trying to get, usually I put up the link for, people to leave, a little donation or whatever, just to help, just for those type of purposes where it could bring better quality to the viewers. We present this information, but right now we just have to deal with, the hand that we are dealt, and
Yeah,
make the best of it, you know. Uh,
exactly.
that's just how it goes.
I tell her I appreciate her too.
Yeah, I'll let her know. So, okay. So, yeah, we're getting to that soon. So now it says here along the great Indian trail from the Mississippi to Lake Michigan were groups of animal and human effigies, many of which were laid out in alignments. They could only be noticed from the sky, which we talked about already. And uh, if you want to really get a good idea of what we're talking about here with the lines, we're talking about the when you talk about the Nazca lines of Peru, you're really looking at something, really impressive. Okay. And we're going to show some images in the coming slides. Um, but for right now, I want to take a look at this particular mound here. Okay. So we're talking about the Adena and Hopewellian, the Adena and Hopewellian cultures. Okay. So if you look here, you'll see some Hopewell mounds. Can you see that, Firebird?
Yeah, I see it very clear.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this particular link here. Actually, well, I don't have to go to the link because it's in the slides. So let's see. Okay. So Adena and Hopewell, Advanced Indigenous Cultures of North America. Okay, give me 1 second. Contrary to popular colonial myth, North America was widely settled far in advance of the Pilgrims' arrival in 1620, and the southeastern cultures were particularly advanced hundreds of years earlier. The Adena and Hopewell civilizations, lasting from 800 BCE to 500 CE, were the first to build large cities and impressive earthworks in areas spanning the current states of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. We do not know the names of these indigenous peoples called, I'm sorry, we do not know the names these indigenous people called themselves. Adena and Hopewell were given to them later based on local settlements in their regions. At the time, at the same time as the height of the Roman Empire, there were thriving civilizations in North America. The extent of their trade network spans the eastern half of the United States, rivaling that of the Roman Empire. Okay? Did you hear that?
Yes.
Rivaling that of the Roman Empire.
Wow.
So, you know, you're not talking about a slouch people here. If it's rivaling that of the Roman Empire, okay, this is contrary to the image, that we're given in the documentaries.
Right.
Okay, so massive earthwork enclosures built by these people are the largest collection on the planet. Yet their construction is still a mystery. Okay, and
Wow.
give me 1 second here. Um, Hold on. Okay. Okay, so here we have the Grave Creek Mound of the Adena culture. Okay, and this is in Moundville, West Virginia. Okay, 62 feet tall, 240 feet diameter.
Wow. Gigantic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Adena, existing for about 900 to 1,000 years, the Adena began mound building in central and southern Ohio regions. This evolved from prior practice of burying dead in piles of shells alongside rivers, including pet dogs, then moving to burials in large mounds of earth with funerary objects such as jewelry, art, and ceramics. The Adena were notable for an extensive trading network which supplied them with copper from the Great Lakes to shells from the Gulf Coast. They developed agricultural practices, pottery, and artistic works, although still living semi nomadic lives and relying on hunting and gathering. Some Adena mounds, actually pyramids, were very tall and conical in shape, the highest being 65 feet tall at Miamisburg, Ohio. These pyramids were smooth on top and capped with clay, beginning as mortuary buildings which were ceremonially burned, then layers of burials placed on top, followed by a new mortuary structure, and the process kept repeating. Okay.
Can you explain to the audience the difference in the shapes of the two again, Adena versus Hopewell?
Okay. We're getting to that. We're getting to that in the in the later slides.
Okay,
I don't want to repeat the same information.
okay.
But we'll take the questions. We'll take the questions afterwards. Um, okay, so it says here, Adena people lived in small settlements, one of two structures, houses typically built in a circle ranging from 15 to 45 feet diameter. Walls were made of paired posts, titled outward, joined to other wood pieces to form a cone shaped roof covered with bark. The Adena had stone tools and axes, bone and antler tools, spoons, and other implements. A few copper axes were found, but metal was generally hammered into jewelry such as bracelets, rings, and pendants.
Hmm. Wow.
So I mean, think about it. It just hit you, right?
Uh-huh.
So you
Very
got to think.
advanced.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, how can you know, uh, you know, primitive society be doing things like bracelets, rings, and pendants?
And pendants.
You know what I'm saying?
Keyword pendants.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and you're talking about building, the building structures like this, um, with different shapes, um, forming cone shaped roofs, um, and things of that nature, you know. We're not talking about people who were ignorant of construction by no means.
Or creativity.
hmm you know.
Adornments, body adornments.
hmm So now, Hopewell. So descendants of the Adena, the Hopewell culture, the Hopewell culture epicenter was Ohio, starting at 100 BC and lasting until 500 CE.
Wow.
Hopewell were masters of land survey and geometry. Continuing the Adena custom of earthworks, the mound pyramids built vastly, enlarging it. They extended the trade network from the Crystal River Indian Mountains in Florida to the northern shores of Lake Ontario, the Gulf Coast, and from the Mississippi River far to the east, but did not have much influence on the East Coast. From these regions, they obtained mica, copper, shell, and soapstone. They produced beautiful artwork and made stone pipes in shapes of effigy animals, smoking tobacco, and perhaps other substances. The name Hopewell came from mounds excavated in 1891 to 1892 by Warren Moorhead by Warren Moorhead at the property of Mordecai Hopewell in Ross County, Ohio. The Hopewell built earthworks in clusters of 10 to 20 mounds or more in the same area. Okay. Um, tens, once there were tens of thousands, but Hopewell mounds now only number in the hundreds due to encroaching development, both, hold on, let me go down a little bit. Okay. Tens of thousands, but Hopewell mounds now only number in the hundreds due to encroaching development, both farmlands and towns. Many remaining earthworks are now preserved in parks and historic sites. So now we're looking at that number as you were talking about, Firebird. So
Right.
the number of mounds, so now we're just talking now. Remember earlier, we were just talking about um, in one county in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
666 mounds. Remember that?
Yeah.
Just in that one county.
Yeah.
Now, here you're talking about in Ohio here. Um, you're saying here there were tens of thousands of mounds. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Tens of thousands of mounds. Okay, that I just want that to sink in to the minds. That number, tens of thousands of mounds, just in that particular area there. Okay,
Yeah.
and you know, but due to the settlers coming in and developing and things of that nature, now you know it's reduced to hundreds of mounds from subtracted from the tens of thousands that were here before, and that's sad. That's really sad, you know. Um, but right now, I'm gonna have to stop it there because we're at that 15-minute mark. I said I'd be on here 15 more minutes. Firebird, I think you froze again. Firebird, um, you froze again, Firebird. I'm gonna froze again. I'm typing you in the chat, so maybe you can't hear me. I'm just letting you know that you froze again. Yeah, I would like to continue on, but I did steal the internet from my wife, and I know she wants to get on and do what she needs to do before the night is over. Um, it's like Firebird froze. Let me text her and let her know that she froze again. Let's see. Firebird, you froze again. Maybe you need to come out and go back in. Firebird, I think you sound like you're back.
I'm back. But
Okay. Yeah.
if you ever lose me, keep your lecture going.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that we're at that 15-minute mark, and I'm getting
Okay.
evil looks from my wife.
Okay.
she uh she needs to use the internet.
Okay.
But this is just an introduction, and we have quite a bit more slides. This is I didn't even finish the first PowerPoint presentation. There's
Okay.
more.
Can you give me an idea when you can give another lecture before you go? So
Um,
we keep this momentum going.
yeah, maybe another week from now. Um,
Okay. We'll talk this week or tomorrow.
okay.
And thank you, Donna, for tuning in, and anyone
Yeah.
else.
Thank you, Donna.
So, good night, everyone. Thank you so much. This is Fiber Grey Wolf for Native Voices Turtle Island TV. Excuse our technical difficulties that have nothing to do with us but satellite dishes in the sky. And good night.
I'll leave with this is one picture here of what we're going to get into um, when we come back. Can you see that, Firebird?
Yes. Can
You
you
see how?
explain real fast?
No, we'll leave them with that cliffhanger.
Okay. Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay, everyone. Good night. Hold on, Fierce. Good night to my audience. We'll be doing part two next week, and pray that satellite dishes are better. Peace, love, and blessings.
Donna Da, go home. Donna Da, go home.